Now, I'm sure that you have heard this before, but the knee elbow escape is the king of escapes in jiu-jitsu. And we're gonna spend a couple of minutes now going through some details that I think are going to be helpful for you when it comes to implementing the elbow escape against the mount. And we may skip over some of the broad elements because if you've done jiu-jitsu for any length of time, you're going to be familiar with the basics of the knee elbow escape. What I've found over the years is that there have been a couple of small details when it comes to knee elbow escapes from the bottom of the mount that make a huge difference. And if you can really focus your attention and your effort on these smaller details, it's going to make a huge difference when it comes to implementing against resistance. So when you first learn how to do the knee elbow escape, of course, it looks something like this. Your partner's seated on top of you. Usually they're sitting upright. And in order to be able to get things going, you're going to start with a frame. You bump your partner forward, put their weight here. You turn onto your side, and you look to kind of capture their leg, push, and you move from here into a situation where you're kind of taught to go back to the closed guard. There's nothing wrong with this, and there are a lot of elements of fundamental knee elbow escapes like this that are developmental when you first begin training. So, anytime you're seeing an advanced technique, keep in mind that the early stages, like when you first begin to do jiu-jitsu, there are elements of these really fundamental versions of the escapes and all techniques that are really critical for your overall development as a practitioner. I've always felt like, kind of the early stages of learning something, especially, Ms. Jennifer would teach these techniques and they evolved over time. And learning the original variation was very, very helpful for me in being able to adapt later variations and more advanced details. So just because we're showing kind of more advanced details sometimes, don't let that dissuade you from really digging into the fundamental variations that you're taught when you first get started, because there's a lot of wisdom in how those work and a lot of the key principles still serve. Now, when we're here in the bottom of the mount, one thing that we need to really pay particular attention to, and this is going to come up over and over again, is the primacy of your forearm frame. So when Placido is here, it can seem a little bit intimidating sometimes to take your forearm away from your body and place it here against your partner's hip. But this element of the escape is really, really critical. Why? Well, the first reason is because if you don't frame, your partner can walk forward. So the higher he goes, the more difficult it's going to be for you to get your elbows to the inside position. So really an emphasis on this position is critical. Okay, it's going to become critical even for some of our later escapes where we need to make sure that our partner doesn't take our back off of this frame. Okay, the next thing is when we're pushing and creating a strong barrier, it's going to prompt some responses from our partner. It's also going to help us to do the second thing that we need to do, which is keep this elbow on the inside. I can't tell you how many times I watch people start a knee elbow escape, even if he's down in here, with their right elbow outside their partner's knee. So before we even begin to think about doing a knee elbow escape, we need to really be concentrating on the power of our frame across our partner's hip. The emphasis is on your elbow pushing against your partner's hip on this side. If your elbow's not pushing and you're focusing on a forearm frame on the near hip, you're always going to get your partner sliding their right knee forward up to your shoulder line. And that's going to help this arm slip right across. So we can't have that. We have to keep our left elbow pushing strongly against our partner's hip. That's the first thing. The second thing is, even as he takes a crossface here, we're not keeping our body flat on the floor. Remember, his goal is to keep your two shoulders pinned. Your job is to tuck your chin and get that left shoulder up off of the floor. That's going to make it easier for you to take your elbow and bring it inside your partner's knee. So we will not begin a knee elbow escape with our elbow outside our partner's knee. I'm not going to start to try to turn and then get the elbow to the inside. We're going to begin by creating a strong frame, rounding our body, and then taking this elbow here to the inside position. Next, where we are, our partner's feet are underneath our legs. You'll never be able to hit an outside elbow escape as long as your leg is resting on top of your partner's leg. So for that reason, once we start to focus on our lower body, we're going to take our leg and we're going to put it on the floor in between our partner's feet. If his feet are close together, we'll use our opposite side leg. So I'm going to take the left foot here and find his foot and push it out a little bit in order to be able to get my leg to the floor. Then I'm going to glue this foot to the mat, glue this leg to the mat. As Placido goes to back heel with his right leg, he's going to end up running into my leg. He won't be able to take his heel back underneath the leg. So between a top frame and the elbow position, now we're in a spot where we can start to look to escape. Your key detail here with the lower body is getting your partner's ankle outside the line of their knee. When your partner's here in the mount, the most comfortable position is one where their feet are together and their knees are apart, okay? Just like anatomically when he's sitting back, this is going to be most comfortable. So we want to do the opposite. We want to take our elbows to the inside, and then we want to use our bottom knee to take our partner's ankle outside the line of their knee. So you're simply going to slide your knee here. If possible, you're going to take your knee is going to slip underneath. But if Placido kind of glues his foot here to my thigh, I won't be able to get my knee underneath. That's fine. Don't worry about that. Just worry about taking your partner's foot outside the line of their knee. Glue your shoelaces to the floor here, can you?
It's hard.
Yeah. So inevitably your partner's ankle will come up. You will encounter people where that leg stays flat on the mat and you're not able to get your knee underneath. That's when we use the second leg to come up and over and capture. So as Placido glues his foot to my leg, I'm going to move my leg to the outside. Don't let it slip here. You're going to take your leg up and over the top and you're going to scrape your partner's foot directly over, and then you're going to capture it. Now from here, we've got a good connection with our partner's ankle, but that's not good enough. Now you need to do the work of getting your partner's knee trapped. Too often, I watch people try to push with their elbow to slide their partner's knee down. But your partner knows this, okay? Anyone worth their salt is going to put their weight on this knee here. Go ahead. Now, even though you have inside position with your elbow and your body is contoured in the right way, you're not going to be able to move their knee towards your knee. The solution here, take your two knees, point them towards the sky. That's going to lift your partner's knee up long enough so that you can use your forearm to push that knee and then capture. Now from here, you've got a meaningful connection where your partner's knee is behind your legs. From here, we're going to shift sides. So we're going to keep our frame nice and strong. We're going to plant our feet on the floor and we're going to turn to the opposite side. If you feel like your partner has a strong cross face here and it's not possible for you to easily turn, that's fine. Take your inside arm and take a V grip here against your partner's shoulder. That's going to give you enough space to shift your hips out to the side. Once this happens, now we're not going to go back to the guard. We're going to go back to the half guard. Use your right knee to bump, bring your knees to your chest, and now from here you can pass your right arm around the corner. From here, we're going to go directly into lower leg shift. Bring your hand low towards your partner's hamstring. Why? Because when you're holding here around the waist, a strong person is going to take a good whizzer and they're going to start to threaten strangles. So bring your hand nice and low. Next, you're going to switch your feet. Your feet are on the outside. Bring your feet to the inside. Take your top leg and pull. That's going to start an action where it torques your partner's knee. You can now switch. Take your right hand here around your partner's waist. Scoop grip on the other side. Now we're in a position where we can start to look to offset our partner's balance. You can go into your entire lower leg shift series, the trilemma that comes out of the half guard. So a couple of key details from the bottom of the mount when we're performing in the elbow escape. The first is always the power of this frame. Your elbow's got to push on your partner's far hip. If not, what's going to happen is you're just going to have your arm on this inside position. There's a huge difference between inside position and a strong frame. The arm resting here, that's not going to be enough. Like I said, your partner is going to end up sliding their right knee forward and your frame is going to disappear. Now when you go to knee elbow escape here, your partner ends up cutting the corner and they find their way to your back and you've got big issues. Your left elbow has to push here against their hip. Now when Placido goes to slide his right knee forward, he runs into the hip. Next from here, if your partner's feet are crossed, first thing is get your elbow to the inside position. Next, you're going to need to separate your partner's feet. Drive forward a little bit here, please. Take your foot, push, separate, and get your leg down to the mat here. When Placido goes to reconnect his legs, very difficult, okay? When he goes to keep this foot anchored to your leg, you're going to take your knee and you're going to slide it away. The goal is to take his heel outside the line or his ankle outside the line of his knee. Once this happens here, the leg is going to pop up. You have the opportunity to capture. If it doesn't, and again, with strong people, flexible people, it's not going to happen. Take your left leg, use your heel against your partner's shoelaces to pull and capture. With a naive person, sometimes this leg is unweighted and you can just push through. But with serious, experienced people, that's not going to happen. Move this arm just a little bit here. Your partner's going to put weight on this knee. That's fine. You're going to take your two knees up to the sky. That's going to lift their leg. And now from here, you can capture and control. Pinch your knees. Okay, oftentimes I watch people get to this position and then they loosen everything up and the person just cuts that knee back through. So you need to capture and really pinch here. Now from this position, we're going to switch sides. We can V-grip, turn. Now from here, bring our body through. Go to the hamstring first. Pull your partner's body into position. You've got the beginnings of a lower leg shift. Your legs go from this position to here. You can capture your partner's ankle. Now you can go into the tight waist. We'll gauge our partner's reaction from here. As Placido goes to move around from this position, very easy to tilt him. You can start to gain reactions where your partner pulls back. You move up into top position here. You can limp arm out, take your partner's back. The whole trilemma series from the bottom of half guard is available to you. These are little details that make a huge difference. Creating a strong forearm frame is going to be a theme that we're going to come back to again and again in the bottom of the mount. Starting with your elbow on the inside position. Okay, don't have your elbow wandering out here. You've got to start with your upper body in the right position. Concave shoulders. We want our shoulders rolled and our chin in. We want to be turning in to face our partner to whatever degree we can. Their goal is always to keep your shoulders on the mat. You need to keep at least one shoulder off the mat. The way to do that, this rounded posture position. Then we go about the work of capturing first our partner's ankle, then our partner's knee. And once you have that, don't try to go back all the way to the closed guard. Okay, I'm not going to say don't do it, but it's a little time consuming, and especially when you're working no gi and your partner is really resistant, you want to get as much control and connection as quickly as you can. And the half guard is a great way to do that. So with these details in mind, let's go ahead and look at another variation of the knee elbow escape. This time it's going to be the inside knee elbow escape.